Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spiritism at Noon, a study group organized by the Spiritist Group of New York. And we are currently studying the book A Full Life, written by the Spirit Joanna de Angelis through the mediumship of Divaldo Franco. We are going to be sharing our screen with you, and we will first read from the book. Today we are going to be discussing chapter 5, and as I always like to mention, each chapter brings a different topic. So if you are not following other chapters, it doesn't matter. We are going to be discussing something new in this chapter. So the chapter is called A Spiritual Emergency. And Joanna de Angelis starts, a very serious spiritual emergency is hitting the earth. Knowledge in all its forms has contributed for the awakening of human beings to their spiritual crisis. In the past, science prejudice against religion stipulated that any ideas for the betterment of society had to have a material basis, systematically negating the belief in a spiritual life. The tyranny of blind faith was abandoned for a new form of dictatorship, the tyranny of reason. Relating only to material phenomena, it would explain everything within that context, as if the universe were an enormous material machine. It was the very development of science that led reason to reconsider its answers, demonstrating that beyond matter, the universe is made of condensed energy and that not all answers are of a physical nature. Psychological studies and similar disciplines have served as catalysts for today's human crisis, explaining that it's not pathological, requiring a specific and therefore metaphysical treatment. New fields emerged to study human beings in their complexity, with researchers confronted by issues that transcend physical anomalies and makeup. It was discovered that the mind has energetic resources that are only understandable by equivalent means. Paranormality began to be an integral part of human beings, their conflicts, dysfunctions, refractions, and apparent unsound behavior. Physical observations and the schemas archived and unconscious show the need to better understand this very complex machinery as its nervous systems responsible for the communication and command of all its activating sectors. Okay, let's stop here and try to grab the main idea. So obviously she starts by saying we are in a spiritual emergency, um, because our values are being shaken to the core. We had ideas, we thought we understand things, we thought we understand ourselves, but having as a measure just the things that were indicated to us as being a way of analyzing things. Like she says here, for instance, the oppression that many times religion imposed on us prevented us from advancing in terms of knowledge and understanding of the creation and of ourselves out of prejudice. It's just enough for us to remember of Galileo, right? Galileo, because, when he came and had the audacity to say that the planets moved around the sun, he was obliged to retract his theory, because otherwise he was going to be taken to burn at the stake. So you see, there was so many limits, and maybe because it was too comfortable for us to be led by others, like, little children leave all the decisions for the adults, right? So we would look certain institutions and people as being the adults. We would just go according to how they direct us. But the thing is, the spirit is evolving. And as we evolve, each time more, like little children, instead, when we just say, they ask a question to us, and why does this happen? And we say, because it does, because this is the way. Well, but explain to me the way, right? So very much like children are not just satisfied at a certain point of their lives with answers like yes or no, do this or do that, without any plausible explanation. We as spirits, as we are growing and improving, we go through the same phases. Now we are not feeling at easy with what it was before. We have more questions. We have this psychological, spiritual crisis, like she says here. We are going through this spiritual crisis that requires more answers and understanding. And so, little by little, when the religious thought had directed, the scientific field just not to meddle with spiritual things and stay in the field of matter, science itself began to show different things. And new things came to place, and we start analyzing our brains, our minds, and psychological studies began to try to give us some answers to why we react this or that way. What is this anguish of the soul? And this is what she's giving to us in this first place. Even paranormality, which we know always happened, right? There was always paranormality in the world, but it was just after the 19th century, with the age of the Enlightenment and everything, that even paranormality came into the scene in a broader sense. We can talk about the Sister Fox, for instance, in 1848, with the phenomena that happened in Hydesville in the state of New York. And of course, they were not the first ones that got in touch with his spirits. The Bible is full of examples of, people and occasions where spirits would do or perform some things, or the conversation with, the apparition of Angel Gabriel to Mother Mary, for instance. I mean, that was an apparition. They had a conversation. This is mediumship. This is, a communication between the two worlds. So even that became to something else for us to take into place. And this was the phase that this research and spirituality and human crisis and go beyond the brain, not looking at ourselves just as a pure machine, but what makes this machine move? What do we have behind all that? Well, I talked a lot now. Any questions or comments? It's very complex, this lesson today. Anything?
You are almost so right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I'm only saying that is complex. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, right. Um, and but at the same time, I think it's so
Yeah.
incredible the way she develops all this idea, and she proposes that as being a spiritual emergency. Uh, because the thing is, sometimes I wonder, if
Mm.
all this increase in mental disorders, right? Uh, if they do not mean exactly us trying to emerge, all right, bringing all these issues into our lives, and it's hard to deal with this growing process, the growing process of the spirit, and looking that the values that you had before, they have to change, they have to adapt to a new era. You can no longer stick in the way of the past. Again, always referring to little children, it comes to a point that you even want to dress differently, when little children comes and say, oh, I don't want, this outfit is too childish,
Mhm.
right? I overgrown that. I mean, for us, today, with there's so many questions, so many things happening in the world, and we being able to follow all that, I think there is this very uncomfortable situation that we were not dealing before in our previous existences, and it leads us to this kind of mental imbalance, because it's a time for us to adjust.
Mm.
And there is this what we see, but I mean, this is just my thought. This is not what Joanna de Angelis is talking here. So let's keep on reading. One could understand that human thought is a source of life, and the entire existential journey takes place amid different field of energy. Society is seen running wildly outwards when all the complexity is of an internal nature. One tries to conquer the world and its manifestations in an insane quest to stimulate the senses, as if the only goal of existence were the pleasures of the flesh, expressed in the illusions created by transient matter. Progress has contributed greatly for us to lead less tense, afflictive lives. But there are more important values, however, that must be conquered, as well as life altering emotional and spiritual issues that deserve profound reflection. For all these reasons and numerous others, we are experiencing a spiritual emergency that the conquests made by the world are not able to solve. Human beings are immortal, and thus only a specific doctrine, as is the case of Spiritism, can ensure serenity by solving apparent enigmas and anomalies. So, again, and what we do when we are before all that, before this discomfort, right? I use it to some things, and now things seems to be different. We look for more distractions instead of stop and reflecting and internalize life lessons that we are constantly having. We just go in this frenzy of looking for things that are make us oblivious to life's difficulties and the impositions. And then she says, this is insane. This is not going to take us anywhere. It's just going to delay the process. We need to change those ways, and we need a roadmap. And this is what she's saying here. Spiritism is a roadmap. We are not saying that it's the only one. Since our field of studies is about spiritism, we are going to be talking about spiritism, but we are not saying that there are not ways, spiritual ways that can lead us to answers and to inner balance as well. But here she says the way we have the lessons, the set of knowledge we receive from spiritism can calm us down. Now I understand why certain things seem so difficult to me and not difficult to others. It's, knowledge previously acquired. Let's say that it's so easy for me to paint and someone cannot even hold a brush. Why is that? Aren't we all created the same way? Aren't we all having the same possibilities? How can we explain the different talents, even the level of faith of people, if not by referring to the set of knowledge that we receive in Spiritism, one of them being reincarnation? One of them being that we are immortal spirits and that there is no perennial separation from our loved ones and the ones we don't like as well, because we all continue to exist. And so this may not eliminate the pain of having to say goodbye to a loved one that departs to spirit life, but at least we have this comfort of knowing that soon enough we will be reunited again. And there was not the complete disappearance of this being that I love so much, right? So those are the things that she's talking about here. We are going through this crisis, and unless we look for answer in spiritual values, one of them being in spiritism, it's going to be very hard for us because we are growing, and I want to understand what is happening with me, right? Like again, a child that goes through a process of becoming a teenager, their body changes. They want to know what is happening to their bodies, right? Here, we are not talking about bodies, but we are talking about the changing and the growth of the spirit. So we want to be guided. We want to to have this roadmap to help us navigate life.
Yeah.
Any comments or questions?
I believe that it is very difficult, Usada, what Joanna de Angelis is telling us here. If we don't have an idea of who we are spiritually, it makes it so difficult for us to focus and not understand. Just like you said, you have to teach a child, we are like children, and we have to start from the very, very beginning. And this is where we are lost. We're lost in this spiritual emergency. It's so sad that, I mean, we have an idea now as spiritists that has given us so much to understand who we are, where we came from, and what we're doing here. And if we don't have that, how could we start? Where do we start? A person who doesn't have that, where do we start? I mean, we see it in our families and friends and acquaintances. It is such a hard situation now with this spiritual change that has to be somehow we're not changing. It's difficult to say that because it hurts. We believe we're doing what we can here as individuals, but we have to do more. Our society and the world itself. Joanna de Angelis hits it on the nose, explaining all these things, and and for reasons of whatever, where do we go from here? We're doing what we can, but how do we help the world out there? Well, through our prayers, doing all that we can within our families, friends, even acquaintances. We have to do more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's very, very difficult, very difficult. She's hitting it on the nose. I mean, you look at the world out there, you see what's going on in the world. It's like, what is going on? But it is that. It's such sadness, and even it's very scary.
And the first sentence she starts saying, in the past, science switched to spiritual to material. And then she starts to analyze all complexity, evolution, about science, more understand about ourselves, our mind, our psychology, problems and difficulties. And then what we can see, material was not in the past. The humans still believe and try to find the answer outside at the material issues around us. And that's why I believe it's very important to us this class every week, because we can learn a little bit more about this process and applying ourselves this change and transformation, and then maybe the others around us can watch us and follow the example.
You see, as hard as it can be, what she's saying and the complexity of things, but at the same time, even harder to be able to apply all that in our day-to-day lives. Where would we be if we were not discussing this, at least?
Right.
Exactly.
In this process of learning, now I know it's hard to do it, but I have a goal. I know the way, I mean, the roadmap. I know the way I have to take. It's just a matter of being courageous and not ambitious, thinking that, we are going to track, I don't know, 1,000 miles road in 5 minutes.
No way.
Right? It takes time.
Yes.
And even when sometimes, because we are talking about, an inner movement, the movement of the soul, the growing of the spirit, sometimes it doesn't seem that we are moving, but we are.
Yeah. That is a very good point, Jusada. We believe we're not, but we are. And then we ask ourselves, in what way are we moving? Spiritually, hopefully. That's very difficult. I guess individually, you have to look at oneself and see what each and every one is doing and helping in this progress to get ourselves out of this spiritual emergency.
Yeah. And I think also, we have a very short memory for certain things in the past, but we think, about the things that are happening to us now. The good things, the bad things, it doesn't need necessarily be the bad things, and how we deal with them, right? It is completely different from how we would be dealing with them in the past. maybe, in a moment of extreme happiness, I would go just brag about and rub the noses off my friends. See, you don't have what I have. You cannot conquer what I did. Now
Yeah.
we are more discreet,
Mm.
right? We will share, of course, the good moments, but being mindful of the feelings of others that do not necessarily, uh, are living a good time right now when we have our good news, or we are not getting into complete despair before something bad. Like I say, of course we are going to suffer. Of course it's going to be difficult. We have our obstacles, but it doesn't mean that we are going to lose our head or complain about God and the world. So this means growing. The attitude is changing. And this is how I say it may not seem very visible to us, but sometimes, I think we all have the opportunities of, it's especially for us, I think, Sonia, that are out of our country, even though we go there very often, but there are people that we don't see very often. And I imagine, like it happens to me, people say, oh, you look different. And it's not because we are aging. Of
Yeah, I
course,
hope not.
we are looking different, right? It's more because of, sometimes they may even feel that it's related to our physical appearance, but it's not. It is about how we are behaving, how we are conducting ourselves. This inner peace that before all this knowledge, like she's saying here, we didn't have. We were much more anxious with everything and dramatic, and it seems that, yeah, sometimes people will relate that too.
Yeah,
Getting,
yeah,
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 old, but it is not. It's because we are finding balance.
yeah.
uh, let's see how she ends this. There is a great deal of interest to find out if there is life on other planets, and an enormous number of resources are invested in space exploration. However, there is little interest to conduct a profound and serious investigation on the nature of human beings and their multiple evolutionary experiences. A rich culture built a space station in preparation for future interplanetary travel. But there are still no viable solutions for the problem of hunger, warlike inclinations, and the devastations created by sickly egos. In the current circumstances, human beings need to take proper care of their spiritual crisis to be genuinely happy. The great pains assailing humankind demand an eminently spiritual therapy. Initially, we must ask ourselves what has been the purpose of our lives. Nothing that it is the norm to be born, to live, and then to die. Not so long ago, Orthodox religions taught that death was the end of life, which dissolved as the molecules disaggregated. The evolution of human thought and spirit experiences demonstrated that this is the period that, in fact, opens up for future attempts at progress. Undoubtedly, reincarnation still deserves serious study and observation. The energy that nourishes the body is independent of it. It aspires to and undertakes programs that will be carried out for the benefit of the individual and humanity in general. Examine your own behavior. Realize how important your mental life is and start cultivating it with more care. You will see that reality is not what it appears to be, but everything that takes place in your heart and mind. Take care of your current spiritual energy. Plan for the best way to make your life pleasant and rewarding. Thus, do not allow yourself the illusion that relates to a physical body that undergoes ceaseless changes. Gather gems of love and dress yourself with the light of wisdom.
Mm.
So here she's saying, still, we are much more focused on the outward than inside. Just this week, I was watching a short video where Jung was talking about the apo- um, archetypes of the apocalypse. And there was a commentator that worked with Jung at the time, I think, where she says it is amazing when we see how easily we discard planet Earth. When you look at and how is the and what is the message that we're sending to our children and youth, because most of the cartoons, like she said, show, or science movies show, the civilization moving to a different planet, because ours is no more a place that we could be surviving. And so in a way, unconsciously speaking, we are sending the message that it's no use trying to fix our planet right now. And when it's exactly the opposite, not only we have to fix the planet, but above all, we have to fix ourselves. We are the ones destroying the planet, right? So here she says there is all this worry about where am I going to live after if I destroy this planet, but we always have to live with ourselves. It's interesting that for us that have moved a lot from one place, one city, one country to another, sometimes people ask how it is. I sometimes say, you know what? I always take my home with me. Whatever I am, it's always home. Uh, because, the dynamic of me, the family, it's always going to be the same regardless where I am. I mean, if we have peace, if we have a good relationship with each other, if I am well with myself. So here is I can move to Mars, but I'm still going to be Jusara with everything that I am and that I have. And if I don't change for the better, I may mess up in Mars as well, right? Or Jupiter or whatever planet we want to think about. So this is what she's talking about here. Let's think about ourselves. Anything? And and then, paying attention to what is happening to us, taking care of our lives, trying to gather more wisdom, not because we want to be experts on things, but because we want to learn how to behave righteously. Any comment or question?
When I start the spirit in one class about incarnation, then I said, oh, I like so much this planet to live here. I think planet Earth is so beautiful. Then I believe I need to have like a little thing to continue to live here again and again. And my teacher was not happy with my sentence because this is not the purpose of the spiritism, because we need to improve ourselves. But now I remember about this, and then it was a fun situation in the past, many years ago, but I still believe this planet is very beautiful.
It is. So beautiful. It's so beautiful. Thank God, one way or another, enduring heart pains and being shaken with events that really leads us to reflect upon things. We have the hurricane season happening, destroying places and dreams. We had heavy rains and floods, devastating entire cities and states. We have wars going on, and as hard as all of this is, we should learn those lessons. We should think about, I have to contribute for things to be more in place. There's so much more than just that, and how we can recover from all that and send all the best energies that we have to contribute for, the the healing, the healing of us, the healing of the planet.
Exactly. And in situation like you mentioned, the other hand, we can see humans behavior different with fraternal behavior, help each other, donate what the other need, then we can have hope in our planet, in our the life here.
Mm-hmm.
And I really believe we have everything we need to
Yeah.
yeah better to, to have a better life.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The difficulty is that how do you
I mean,
Hmm?
how do we relate this to those that don't understand, to open up and to understand there's much more world to explore, not only this physical world. This is a beautiful universe. It is. We have so much to be grateful for. Then those that do not understand this change that we have to see ourselves in, what is there for us to do. Each and every one of us do our part. That is for sure. But it scares me because we shouldn't be afraid. If we do what we have to do what's right to help the universe and get out of this place of not understanding who we are. And I don't know, there's so much, it's like it says it, you have to, this period, in fact, opens up the future attempts to progress. But, I think what I'm thinking about is that I'm thinking the world itself, but I have to individually think first, me, and what am I doing to help this to open up and for this progress that so many of us are not understanding. And, it just takes work and understanding and do the best that we can to help this universe before we leave this planet. So it's through, like she said, with love and have a lot of understanding of wisdom and peace in our hearts and kindness. I mean, and most important, the charity of love. It takes a whole lot. But each and every one of us can do. We can do our part and help. Absolutely.
Yes, Loretta, there is only that we can do. We can only be responsible for our actions. And but we have to believe that our actions are impacting others. So much so that their actions impact us, right?
Yeah.
Like you were saying, we feel sad, we feel frustrated with, the certain behaviors, the behaviors of people around us. Sometimes, even the ones that are very close to us, the inner circle, the family circle, you know. Uh, but we can only have responsibility for ourselves. And the thing is, like we said before, even when we think we are not changing, we are. We are getting more balanced. We are getting, we irradiate a different energy already. And one way or another, these people that are still very imbalanced and acting completely in the opposite way as they should, when they observe us, they can get a motivation, but also they will observe that we radiate this energy, you know, of
Mhm.
more peace and harmony, and at least unconsciously they will say, I want that for me. I want to conquer that as well. It's not much just what you're doing, but how they look at us and see, I want to achieve that as well.
Right.
Maybe the formula is to do what they do. You see, so
Yeah.
but the thing is, when we look around, like you said, and we see so many things, so many people going, it seems, in the wrong direction, what happens is that instead of us strengthen our determination and move on and continue in the right path, we lose hope, we lose our motivation, and many of us may even temporarily give up, saying, it's no point. I'm just going to give up now. And I tried. I really tried, And this is something that we should never do. Never go back. Never go back. We may even stop for a moment. We may even feel, shaken with certain circumstances that will be more difficult for us to deal with than others, but we should never go back. And unfortunately, those of goodwill, when they are surrounded by so much negativity, there is a great chance that they may be swallowed by it as well. This is how or why Jesus said, watch and pray,
Yeah.
right? Because if it's raining, we go outside without protection, there is no way we are not going to get wet.
Right.
I don't need to stay there. I don't need to keep myself wet. But there is no way we are not going to be impacted by all of this. But I can shake the dust off and or the rain like a dog, right? Shaking to remove the wet, the water.
Yeah.
And this,
Last
yes, go ahead, Sonia.
last week we were studying about being indulgence,
Oh, yeah.
and then immediately I have like a difficult situation and need to be indulgent. Was not easy for me, but life coming to us, guiding us in the path, then making us behavior in accordance the lesson we are studying. Because in theory, it's very nice lesson, but to practice very hard. It's simple, but it's not easy. But life guiding us to practice, to be an example with these lessons we are learning here.
Mhm.
Opportunities facing us.
Yeah.
When I arrived home, back from my mom home, then I said, wow, all the situation was to practice the lesson.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
Walk the
It's
is,
walk,
incredible,
the talk.
incredible.
it is incredible. It
And
is.
then what try to say, to share with you. We have the tools. We have the tools.
Yes.
We can use these tools or cross our arms. And
Yeah.
we pick one. It's true. We are not the same the past.
Sure.
Thank God.
That is small steps of
Absolutely. I mean, I find that when any time we are in, it might be cliche, you know, say, oh yeah, right. But whenever we are in some kind of a problem, you want to say, or difficulties, you know, you turn to the books and you pray and you
Mhm.
ask for assistance. And it is, I'm not gonna, it probably is miracles. I don't know, but it seems to come at the right time to give you the strength to move forward or stop worrying about this and do this and do. I mean, just open any of our books. My God, it is such it's a miracle how much it helps to assist us in our daily lives. It is so for real. And I wish I can tell, you know, everybody we know if they're going through problems. You know, I don't want to be cliche and talk about the same thing and they're going to look at me like I'm crazy. And say, well, listen, pray. It'll help. You see, just sit down and take a few minutes, moments. God is talking to you. Spiritual benefactors are with you. You have guardian angels. I mean, how could we lose? There is no way we can lose. And whatever we're going through, we have to go through it. It's for our own good. But we have to understand that. And once you don't understand, you lose it and you don't want to be bothered anymore. But I tell you, prayers are what it is that many need to understand. And but it's okay. When it's time, we'll all grow and progress in our time. Thank God. Thank you, Lord. Thank you so much.
Okay, let's read the thing. A spiritual emergency is the awakening of your consciousness, the fulfillment and love of self that is up to you to attain for the benefit of all. It is no secret that everyone is unhappy with their current situation, for inside each person, a whole world of emotions and expectations commands the existence. Psychological therapy helps with treatment, but only the experience of interiorization enables the encounter between the ego and the self, giving rise to the love of neighbor. It is fascinating to note how Jesus positioned love, demonstrating the need to direct it to ourselves as much as unto others. The best way to achieve self love is to embrace an ideal that entails human solidarity as taught by the ethics of the gospel of Jesus. Oh, this is so beautiful, right?
Yes. God.
So, like we said before, it's the spiritual emergency is this awakening of the consciousness, where we have to confront ourselves. We have to, allow ourselves to grow, and not just think, oh no, I cannot do it. And one thing that, like she says here, uh, using the examples of Jesus, the teachings of Jesus, at the end of everything, there is always love. And love is the only path, secure path that will take us to this self realization and even learn to love and to accept ourselves as well. So this is the way she, as always, she brings the subject. She leads us to, she put everything in the pot. She steers everything, and then it comes a solution when everything is ready. And here is that embrace an ideal, helping others, And there's so many ways we can do that. And we have been doing already with prayers, with help, with participation, with being more indulgent and tolerant, all of those things. This is actually the way for us to continue in this journey.
Absolutely.
Any comments or questions?
Just gives us more to understand who we are and to continue what we're doing and the best way we can, and have faith that we're not alone, and our God knows what we need, and we have to do what we have to do to get better each and every day and help all those around us.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful thing. What Joanna de Angelis relates here, it's so beautiful. She's perfect, perfect. And everything she says, it's
incredible, right?